Welcome to the Knights of Mandalore podcast, the podcast where we look at all the components of the galaxy far, far away. Tonight, we will be talking about episode 1 of the Book of Boba. And before you say anything, I am aware this episode's a week late because I was getting the upload schedule all set up. But anyway, episode 1. So, coming into the show, I knew that they were going to somehow established that he's like a crime lord now. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm wondering how they do that. So it opens up with him in like a back to tank, and he's like going through the healing process. He's dreaming. We see like Camino, which was so cool to see in live action. Then we see like the episode 2 scene where he's holding Django's helmet. Then it cuts to like him in the Sarlacc pit, which I'm like, so now we're going to explain how the hell he got out of that thing. So so I like how first off they showed inside the Sarlacc pit because I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Then like he emerges, he digs his way out. And then it shows like Jabba's sail barge was like set up as like a set piece. And I think that was really cool. And then I love how he just collapses. Like he's done. He's like tired. He's out. Then I love how they establish how the Jawas got the armor. They just showed up and started stripping the armor and just beating him with the rifle butt. And then he's captured by Sand People, which otherwise known as Tusken Raiders. And I liked how this episode apparently went into, for the most part, Tusken Raider lore like a little bit more because they've sort of explored this in Star Wars lore, but now it's the stuff that Disney and all their infinite wisdom made non-canon. So it was really like, it was really interesting to finally see once again what happens when like you're captured by Sand People. They leave their little dog things to guard you. The kids start messing with Boba and he can't do anything because he's tied up. And I like how he's picked up by this Tusken Raider tribe, and then the kid of the Tusken Raider tribe takes him, I guess, to like find water because he's digging water, and then this Rodian that he was captured with basically comes into contact with this four-armed, really like suddenly introduced Star Wars creature, which I think it's really interesting because it's like, so as if you needed any more excuse not to go to Tatooine, there's creatures in the sand. And I'm like, this would be so cool if in Knights of the Old Republic, you'd be just like walking around on Tatooine, and all of a sudden a giant four-armed beast attacks. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, you really could explore that a little more. Now, moving on. Another thing I liked about this, about the way the series is starting off, they're showing him establishing his criminal empire. Because for those of you, because as a recap, Boba Fett now took over Jabba's empire. So now he runs, Jabba's empire. So what I liked about this episode is that it shows how I liked how all of the surrounding groups and kingdoms come to like pay tribute to Boba. And it's like the general, the like governor, like just sends a dude and then expects tribute. And Boba Fett's like, no, the tribute is we let you go home. That's the tribute. And I like how he's walking about on Tatooine. They're showing about how Boba's rule is different because normally the huts would be like ferried on like sort of like a barge, small barge. I don't know the proper word for it. It's like he's transported on this little like cart, if you will. Boba's like, nah, I'm just gonna walk. I want to differentiate myself from the previous occupant. Now, okay, so he shows up at Fortuna's little bar and basically says, I run the thing now. So It's all good. He starts walking out, and then they get attacked by these dudes with energy shields. This was my one problem with the show so far. Now, my problem comes from this is why. Okay, so here's the issue, and this is coming from so when he was reintroduced in Mando, he was slaying stormtroopers left and right, like annihilating whole platoons. Like there was that one episode where he first showed up, excuse me, and like he drops it in the armor and just wrecks a squad of stormtroopers with knee rockets, flamethrowers, shoulder cannons, backpack mounted rocket launcher. In this one, he gets like knocked down like really easily. And I'm like, what? This doesn't work following Jango, because like, why is he injured? He wasn't hit or exploded by like a bomb or anything like that at any point during Mando, which was the last time we saw him, unless they're going to go into that in a flashback. They better, because this makes no sense. Besides that, I really liked it because I love the scene where like one of the assassins is trying to escape. Boba takes his restaurant rockets and just blasts them. And I like the use of the flamethrower. I felt it's really cool. That has such an iconic sound when it comes to like Boba Fett and Mandalorians and such. I also really liked how so throughout Mando, he has that scarring over half of his face. When he gets out of the bacta tank, it's all healed. So that's a nice detail I like. I like how the armor looks. Once again, I like his interactions with Shan. I like, let's see. I'm pulling up the concept art gallery. I also dug, again, how it very clearly establishes that it's taking place after episode 6 with like the sail barge and such. I like how he's being dragged by the slavers. I like how the droids are like putting his armor on when he's getting armored up, and it's like he's just like this, and they're just putting on everything. I like that detail. Yeah, the shield part made no sense because it's like you have a jetpack. You can just jetpack out of that shield wall. That's my first issue. Second off, again, the dude was a badass in Mando, but here he's like getting knocked down. I'm like, how did he get injured? I like all the Easter eggs that they show, like the blue, like elephant dude playing and they play the cantina music, but it's more like tropical. I like how they have the droid from Star Tours. I liked I liked how they went into like Tusken Raider lore, where like he tries to escape and then he gets into a duel with the Tusken Raiders and he gets like beaten up. I got that I believe, because he was like, I'd imagine he'd be like malnourished. He would be tired from being like tied up. So that defeat, I get. That's believable. Just the other part where I'm like, not buying it. That's the only part where I'm like, and even then, in the flashback, the way he defeats the creature, which I love so much, reminds me of Live Episode 6. He wraps the chain around its neck and just chokes it, which I'm like, oh, that's really cool how he jumps on its back. Yeah, here we go. But second off, I'm like, I like how they're expanding on the lore of Tatooine with the creature. That's what I like. But I also love how after that, he earns the respect of the Tusken Raiders. And that right there shows you that he sees, I think at least, I have yet to see episode 2 that comes out tomorrow. I have a theory that he's not going to be as much of a prisoner now after he kills that creature and saves that Tusken Raider kid, because it's going to be like, you earned our respects because A, you saved one of our own, and B, you defeated one of these 4-armed creatures. I forget exactly what it's called. So I feel like because if you notice when he comes back to the village, the chief gives him like some water and drinks and stuff. So I feel like he's going to be more of like an equal on that level. I think that's how he leaves that village. I think honestly, what would be cool is if they establish that he joins the Tusken Raider tribe, becomes one of them until he sees until we get to like that scene in Mando where we first see him at the end of like episode I think 2 or so of season 2, where we see him walk away after he sees that governor has his armor. So he says, okay, I gotta go now, I gotta go get my armor, because as we established in Mando, armor is very, very important to Mandalorians. And I'll forever be grateful to Mandalorian season 2 for going away from whatever the hell Clone Wars did and reestablishing the lore that that Boba Fett is a Mandalorian, that Jango Fett was a Mandalorian, he was a foundling. So I'm like, thank you so much, because that is so cool. It establishes the lore. It establishes proper motivations for Jango, and through Jango, Boba. So overall, I'm liking the series. I'm liking the action, solid Star Wars action. I want now. I'm liking the special effects. It feels like it's definitely made by the same people. And what I mean by that is that, and this was a compliment I have for Mando as well, is that it feels like it's a Star Wars movie. It doesn't feel like it's a TV show. It feels straight up like it's a show, which I like a movie. And I get that's probably because it's made by Disney, but I like how they kept the same level of production quality, because normally that kind of goes meh. So I'm gonna tell. So for the rest of this episode, I'm gonna tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, a little more, go into more detail, and then I'm gonna go into my theories for who's gonna show up in this series. So first, I like the establishment of like what happened immediately after episode 6. I feel like they like covered that period of time in Boba's history really well. 2, I liked how they showed how you escape from the Sarlacc pit. And even what's interesting is that when you see in the Sarlacc stomach, there's like a stormtrooper there. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I liked how he couldn't breathe, so he like pipes in the oxygen from the stormtrooper's like suit into his suit. Like that. I like how he got a little more into Tusken Raider culture, because I feel like that's one component of Star Wars in canon now. I'm talking about Disney canon that has largely been ignored. We saw briefly a little bit of it in Mando in the Tatooine episode, but I like how they further like expanded upon that. What I didn't like is only one thing, is that Boba was completely useless in the modern day time. What I mean by completely useless is that he gets attacked and that's it, it's done. But I'm like, you just annihilated stormtroopers. How are you this weak? And he's like, get me to a back to take. I'm like, what? So that's all I didn't like. Now, my theory for which characters are going to show up, I think Dengar, because he and the Fett were close friends. Second off, I think Cad Bane's going to show up. It's like a missed opportunity to have a live action Cad Bane. Furthermore, I think Din Djarin is going to show up, particularly since this is apparently taking place after Mando season 2. We can like use this as a transition to Mando season 3. Now, I also think what's to show up. It's not going to be Han Solo. They did Luke, so it's not completely out of the like realm of possibility that they could bring in like Han, but I doubt they're going to do that. I think they're going to stick it to the lawless people, in which case I could see like maybe more Mandalorians like Bo-Katan. I think what they'll do is they'll do more like flashbacks, and it'll be really cool if like some of the flashbacks were like showing parts of Boba's life after Jango gets killed, and it's like straight up Clone Wars episodes but live action. That would be really cool. I feel like in that case I could see Mace Windu, Anakin Skywalker showing up for those episodes that were on the Endurance. I want to say that's the name of the Venator he completely wrecked, and they could show him in prison as a kid. I felt that was really cool. And then maybe they could show how he first got the armor and how he like dressed it up and all that. That'd be really cool. Additionally, I think, and this is what Lad and I specifically really want to see is Hondo Anaka. Just a completely missed opportunity to not bring in Hondo. And I would love for him to like see like Obi-Wan and then go Kenobi, which not likely to happen because it's after episode 6, but maybe in a flashback. And additionally, I mean, I don't think they would bring in Ahsoka because it seems too irrelevant for her. I don't think Ahsoka. I think we could see like more of the bounty hunters from episode 5, like Forlom, obviously Dengar said, IG-88. We'd see more. I get the feeling that this is going to be where we're going to see like the really lawless part of the galaxy, which I'm very much really excited for because that's one of the parts of, because with me, my favorite parts of Star Wars are the non-force wielding characters because I feel like force is used too much like a MacGuffin to serve the plot. We use the force. That's why I love Mando, Clone Wars, and this so much because they rely on characters for the most part that don't use the force, like clone troopers, Mandalorians for one thing, because I'm a big Mandalorian nerd. Obviously, we have an episode where my friend Charlotte goes straight into Mandalorian lore. So those are my thoughts for Boba season 1, episode 1. I'm really excited for episode 2, and we'll see what Favreau and Filoni have in store for us, because the more they throw in all this lore, the more I get excited. And I wonder if it's going to be like Mando season 2, because in season 2 it was like cameo. So I'm wondering what they do. So, and I'm really excited. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will see you next week for Mando season 1, episode 2. All right. May the force be with you.